Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you.
Even though it's cold outside, you can still get out and explore.
Discover great winter destinations and activities, from renowned collections and unique museums to internationally recognized workshops and craftsmanship, plus adrenaline-pumping activities to battle the cold, and fun new hobbies to challenge your mind. Beat the winter blues across the state.
From mind to body, from new to old. Spruce up the season tonight on the weekly special.
Hello, I'm Erica Sagone.
And I'm Daryl Neer. You know, Erica, this is the time of year where you got to fight that feeling of being cooped up and find a way to get outside.
Yeah, if you are feeling cooped up, we have got the cure. We've got inspiring Hoosier stories from all across the state. Well, we may be a long way away from the warm summer sun, but the American Sign Museum is sure to brighten your day.
Between the flashing glow of motel signs to the allure of the spinning Sputnik, it's hard to know where to start at the American Sign Museum, but founder Tom Swarmstedt is happy to help. His love of signs isn't just a hobby, it's a legacy. For over a century, his family has owned Sign of the Times, a trade journal for the sign industry. In 2005, he used that expertise to create the first public sign museum in the country.
Right now, the collection is probably about 4,200 objects. We're always acquiring more, so I don't know what the exact count is at this moment. To break that down, we have a little over 600 signs. What I'm really trying to do is to create a respect in the public for the craft of sign making and for the design. Signs have made quite an impact on the landscape, and when the public is out driving around and they see signs, it doesn't really register in their mind the importance of signs and the contribution that they've made to the landscape. So as new technologies evolve, each small business would want to one-up their neighbor to have a sign that a person going down the street would see first.
For many small businesses, signs functioned as their only source of advertising. The competition to be seen advanced the industry, from the earliest trade signs of the 1800s to the three periods of electric signs, light bulbs, neon, and plastic.
One way you can walk through the museum is to do a history of design trends. I can actually track Art Nouveau, Art Deco, what I call the funky 50s, into the modern look of the 60s. You could also walk through the museum from the standpoint of the history of technology. When you walk through the museum, it's obvious that you're walking through the history of signs, but what you're really doing is taking a walk through the history of America as seen through the history of signs. And we have a number of pieces that actually are from an important point along the timeline of American history. We actually have a gilded piece which has the Pledge of Allegiance. Now that's missing the phrase "under God." For those that know their American history, that "under God" phrase was added in 1953 during the McCarthy era. So I know that piece, that Pledge of Allegiance, was done before 1953. What the public really wants to see are some of those American icons. For example, our 1963 Speedy McDonald sign. Here we've actually built a complete main street with period storefronts. Each storefront is designed around the sign we have. We have a late 40s corner bar. Each storefront features signs from that era. And then finally, the windows of the storefronts become our display cases. And each window's got a theme. For example, that hardware store I talked about, the theme for its windows is neon clocks and neon salesman samples.
And it's here that visitors start to see the true extent of the museum's collection. Anything related to sign making or sign design can be found on display, from tools and equipment to photos and blueprints.
Most people's expectation when they hear a sign museum, what comes to mind to them is a barn with a bunch of rusty old signs. We actually try to teach them about the value of signs. We try to educate them about technology, how signs have changed. And it really is, like I said before, a walk down memory lane. And the thing about the memories is it's always good memories, like that first kiss at a drive-in, or that diner where you ate with grandma and grandpa. These are always good memories, and that's something that's hard to capture these days. As far as what the museum means to me, I've told people I have the best job in the sign industry. This is what I wanted to do. It's a very rewarding thing for me. When people come to the museum and their eyes light up and they start remembering these signs, that's what really makes my day.
For hours and directions, visit theamericansignmuseum.org. From larger-than-life installations to the tiniest recreations, winter hours will pass with ease at the Museum of Miniatures in Carmel, Indiana.
I always had a love of tiny things, and as a small child I was given a little iron about the size of your thumbnail at a tea room, and I thought it was a great treasure. And I always wanted a dollhouse, but when I was young they were made so poorly. So I was finally 40 when I got my first dollhouse, and it's been a wonderful journey, and it's amazing that the adult world has embraced the hobby so completely. I started in about 1981 and have been doing them ever since.
It took Suzanne 5 years to complete her first house, an experience that helped her learn every aspect of a build, leading Suzanne to found the Museum of Miniatures in 1991 with 2 fellow enthusiasts.
When I came here, there were people that said we should have a museum, because some thought that collections were being lost because children either didn't appreciate them or didn't have room for them or had no interest in them. This was a shame because these people had put in years and years of work, money, sweat, tears, and emotion, and you just sort of hate to see that go down the tubes. When the museum opened, we were approximately 95% on loan. Now we were probably 85% that we own, and this has been from donations from all over the country.
The museum collection now features over 600 miniatures, including room boxes, houses, and individual items. Besides permanent exhibits, like the California Contemporary, the museum hosts rotating exhibits, all showcasing the incredible craftsmanship of the miniature world.
A lot of people think of a dollhouse strictly as something for a child. However, for the adult miniaturist, it's an art form, and it's a showcase of virtually every art form you can think of. We have silversmiths, we have porcelain makers, furniture of all styles, fine art and painting. So there's just many, many areas, and each one has its own set of expertise, you might say. And it's amazing what some people do that just are so creative. Even the humor. I've seen a lot of settings that are, you just sit there and laugh because they've made the scene tell a story, and that's part of the intrigue, I think.
One can easily see the amount of time and effort that goes into the art of storytelling in miniature form. Visitors can explore a variety of scenes, from the intrigue of Sherlock Holmes' famous sitting room to special moments frozen in time.
We have children come into this miniature museum, as well as adults, that have never seen this world before, and they're just flabbergasted. They innately embrace it. They just think it's so phenomenal to think that you can make a whole tea set that's you could fit in the palm of your hand. Again, it's one of these things that's sort of an innate thing, and anybody that wants to do it can find something that they do well, and the rest, if they don't want to do it themselves, they can find somebody to do it. So that makes it a sort of a happy hobby.
A hobby, perhaps, but certainly a unique art form displayed and perfectly preserved at the museum for even the tiniest of visitors.
For more information on the latest exhibits, visit museumofminiatures.org. From crafting the smallest wonders to making custom furniture, Winter is a perfect time to pick up a new hobby, and the Marc Adams School of Woodworking is a great place to start.
When I was 6 years old, my dad bought for me one Christmas a little Mattel Shopsmith thing. It was a tool all-in-one for kids. He was a passionate woodworker. And when he died, it left me with all of his woodworking equipment that he had. So for sentimental reasons, I decided to keep it. And as I started to play on that equipment, that passion that he had started to burn in me. So all of a sudden, all of my dreams went away. And I started to focus now on just woodworking.
That love grew into a successful business for Marc. By 1989, he was the U.S. technical consultant on the International Quality of Furniture Standards, lecturing all over the world on woodworking technology.
I realized that we just don't do enough here to educate woodworkers on woodworking. You see, to be a plumber, you have to be licensed. To be a mechanic, you have to be licensed. To be an electrician, you have to be licensed. But there's no licensing for woodworkers. So we're an uncertifiable trade. So as a guy who runs a business, it was important to me that we understand how to train and certify our own craft. And while I was on the road lecturing, I decided, hey, I'll come back and start a school. And I did that. 20 years ago this year, I did 16 classes, took 10 people, had 160 people here, and it just kind of went out of control from there.
Today, the school is the largest of its kind. Nearly 3,000 students from all over the world flock to Franklin each year to attend over 150 unique workshops.
We can get this all done tonight, and first thing in the morning we'll start cutting the joints. So let's head on over here. Grab your stuff. It's inch. It's
What I wanted to do when I started the school was I wanted to do something that wasn't long-term. So I founded the school on week-long workshops, spend time with the absolute best instructors on the planet, and go home with what they need to fulfill their desires in this craft. Everybody that works here is in the craft and in the trade. They're here year in, year out. And as people come back over and over again, we've got about a 92% return rate. You come here once, you're going to come back. And that's what makes it so inviting and so exciting for everybody. Even though we're a school, we do change people's lives.
Such is the case for many of those who have obtained a master's certificate. While most attendees are hobbyists, some are seeking a career in the field.
I've always wanted to be a professional woodworker, and I was doing it on my own, but I wasn't progressing as fast as I wanted to. And I knew I needed some instruction if I really wanted to get to the level I wanted to be at without spending my life trying to learn it on my own. In 2009, I signed up for 4 classes, and I came here and I took them, and I was just blown away with how much I learned in those 4 weeks.
In 2012, Richard received an internship from the school. Through the years, the school's foundation has awarded over $100,000 in scholarships. For Richard, it provided the opportunity to change professions after years away from his family working construction.
The foundation has given me so much, and the school, I wanted to give directly back to them in hopes that, you know, I built this table in hopes that they can sell it and maybe they can help somebody else. Because I know how much it's changed my life. If I can be a part of changing somebody else's life.
And Marc is confident the profession will continue to attract new woodworkers for years to come.
I think that just the craft itself is one of those things that'll never die out because of the resources and because of the interest. People are shocked to know that we have this school right here in central Indiana. And Indiana is one of the largest producers of wood and wood products in all of America. So it's just kind of fitting that we're right here in Indiana, and that's kind of a fun thing to see.
Get the latest listing of upcoming classes at their website, marcadams.com. Imagine the precision of woodworking with only minutes of execution. What you'll get is one of the most incredible sculpture contests around.
Counting down the days and counting down the minutes, and you're going to see something like you have never seen before right here. This is Ice Fights. Are you ready?
This group of ice carvers has been doing festivals for the past 15, 20 years, and we thought that a regular festival needed a little bit more pizzazz, so hence the Ice Fights.
Let's introduce your first contender tonight, the Dragon! Give it up for the reigning Ice Fight Champion. He is the one, the only, Buddy the Viking Rasmussen!
Buddy Rasmussen is the originator of ice fights, and he started with just looking for a way to get more action and more live entertainment into ice carving. People are fascinated by people carving ice, but after about 5 minutes it gets boring. This is very high energy, loud music. It's patterned after a boxing match where we have 3 15-minute rounds, and the ice fighters go at each other with their chainsaws and 600 pounds of ice.
There can only be one ice fight champion right here.
So I've been carving ice for 25 years. Just got lucky enough to come across it and fell in love with it. We have to speed carve to keep it under that time. And it keeps it frantic too, but everybody loves the ice anyway, and most people don't even get to see carving. When you see it in this format, you're like, oh my God.
Seeing them from a block of ice to this, just seeing it all was amazing. I wasn't expecting all the details and how they did it so quickly. I would love to be creative like that.
3, 2, 1, songs down, gentlemen. And that is the end of round 2. Give it up for Buddy the Viking Rasmussen, being the Dragon Damaris.
This was a good way to expand our craft, yet get people interested and have a good time. Anywhere we go, we draw a big crowd. Encouragement is to come out and watch an art that you don't see very often. When ice is carved, it doesn't last very long. It's here and it's gone. It's kind of like going to a symphony.
It was awesome. They actually did that at ice, and they used a chainsaw because you have to do very little details with a big chainsaw. You never know what it's gonna be. When I grow up, I'm gonna ice carve.
We're like a band of brothers, the camaraderie between all the carvers. We just want the whole world to see ice, you know, and see ice carving.
Your ice fight champion, Dean the Dragon.
For more information on the upcoming festival, visit richmondmeltdown.com. From chainsaws to the finest of blades, Indiana hockey is where the cold of the ice meets the heat of the battle.
Passionate fans flock to Bankers Life Fieldhouse, not for the basketball court, but for the ice rink. The speed, the intensity, and of course, the fights. No one could argue that hockey is an easy sport. It takes years of dedicated training. And for the last 10 years, young men from across the world have been coming to Indiana for their first step into the big leagues.
We are no longer the Indianapolis Ice. We are the Indiana Ice, a member of the United States Hockey League, which is the only Tier 1 league in the United States. These players are anywhere from 16 to 21 years old, and to be frank, they're the best hockey players in the United States for that age group.
16 teams across the Midwest participate in the USHL, a strictly amateur league that allows players to remain eligible for NCAA competition.
A lot of our players come here as kind of a transitional time between their high school years and before they go on to college. This league is one of the foremost feeders for the NCAA Division I schools, so a lot of these players will develop their skills here and then move on to NCAA Division I competition.
So far this year, over 230 USHL players have made college commitments to Division I teams across the nation.
The USHL is an essential and an important step for a lot of these players because it teaches them not just stuff on the ice, it teaches them sort of the intangibles of the career. A lot of stuff about time management, how to live on your own before going on to college.
It's kind of like a pro league with the traveling and the coaching style, and you got to earn your ice time, so it's more of a college pro atmosphere.
We play 64 games in a season, half at home and half on the road, so time on the bus is pretty common, and you kind of get used to packing and unpacking and getting ready to play in different cities, and it's a blast. If you want to get a college scholarship, this is the place to play. Every team is really deep. There's no easy games throughout the year. You can't go into a game and and say this is going to be an easy one. It's a battle every night, and it's a grind, but I love it.
And that model continues to prove successful. Over 200 alumni are currently active players in the NHL, including former Indiana Ice member Torrey Krug, who fought for the Stanley Cup just last year with the Boston Bruins.
These guys you're seeing in the ice right now, this is the future of hockey. These are the players that you're going to be seeing on the NHL rosters. This league isn't just about development on the ice. We try to help each one of these players develop themselves intellectually, academically, and as well as kind of help them create a sense of community. We want these players to walk out of here knowing that they're a better person, they're a better hockey player because of the experiences they had here, not just on the ice, but off the ice as well.
Be sure to visit their website for a complete season schedule, indianaice.com. They may be the next hockey heroes, but how about the next Winter Olympians? It's all happening at the Fort Wayne Curling Club.
Curling first came to the city of Fort Wayne back in the 1880s when John Bass built the Bass Mansion. And when he did that, he brought a number of Scottish craftsmen. And those people stayed and brought their traditional sport of curling to the city of Fort Wayne at that time. And after the 2010 Olympics, we found that they had built a new ice rink in town. We approached them about doing curling, and they were very interested. So we got the club started up in 2010. 4 years later, just before the 2014 Winter Olympics, we built this new facility. So right now, we're the only dedicated curling facility in the state of Indiana. The closest dedicated clubs like ours are in Chicago, Columbus, and Detroit. But there are arena clubs in Kalamazoo, Lansing, Indianapolis, lots of other places. So there's plenty of clubs in an easy drive, but very few that have a dedicated facility like this with the ice quality and the social aspect of the game, which really gets people excited.
Arena Club ice compared to this is so much better than what we were at. We don't have to try to figure out, okay, there was a hockey game before us, did the Zamboni scrape and flood the ice correctly beforehand? We know what the ice is like, and it makes the games actually a lot more competitive because there's no guess if the ice is going to actually affect a shot. It's going to be, can you execute the shot? Are you able to do it? And it actually makes it a lot more competitive and more fun. I didn't realize there was as much strategy involved as there was. It actually is like chess on ice. The beginning of the game, the end of the game. It's a great community sport. You can meet a lot of cool people. I think it's just one of those things that it adds another step to Fort Wayne to help, build up Fort Wayne.
Most common reaction is curling. We have curling here in Fort Wayne, that thing on the Olympics. But other than that, it's, I didn't know you existed. I've always wanted to do that. That looks so interesting. We, like most other curling clubs, run what are called Learn to Curl sessions. It's an opportunity for people that have never done the sport before to come out and get a gentle introduction to the sport. We've established some rookie leagues, which is a chance for people who've just done a Learn to Curl to play in a short league against other people of similar ability. And that's really where we get the hooks in people. When they get to start playing games, they make their first shot, that's when people really, you see their faces light up and they get really excited and they want to come back. I think our youngest curler is now 12 years old. He's been curling for 2 years, so we started at 10. And our oldest curler just turned 80. It's really a sport that anyone can participate in. And one of the things I like best about the sport is it's one of the only sports that I can think of where 3 generations of the same family can play on the same team and be competitive. And not many other sports you can think of that have that sort of opportunity for families to curl together or play together. Curling is a sport that's really rooted in sportsmanship. If you watch the Olympics, you never saw an official out on the ice. The players call their own fouls, the players figure out the score themselves. It just seems to attract really nice people that are fun to hang around with and socialize with. And a lot of our curlers like that even more than the curling aspect of things because it really is a community.
A big part of the game is what we call broom stacking, which is when the teams sit down together after the game. And the tradition is that the winning team buys the first round of drinks for the losing team. I think a lot of sports, the two teams either don't like each other or at least have to act like they don't like each other. You don't get that in curling.
Biggest challenge in building the club was it's not something that a lot of Americans know a whole lot about. Luckily the Olympics have helped with that, raising the exposure of the sport. We want to do things that attract people to the city. We've run Fort Wayne Summer Spiel for 4 years. Last year we had partnered with the United States Curling Association and we brought in the Olympic team from China, the Olympic team from Great Britain, and all 4 teams that were eligible to become the U.S. Women's Olympic team. We had the highest level of competition in any women's curling tournament ever in the United States. So we're pretty excited about that and the level of support we've gotten from the curling community countrywide as well as the United States Curling Association. There's not many cities, of our size that have something like this. So, we like being a part of that, something that citizens can hang their hat on and say, hey, Fort Wayne has this and other cities in the state don't. So we find that to be exciting and fulfilling for us.
For the latest listing of upcoming classes and events, visit fortwaynecurling.com.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight.
Yes, and be sure to check out weeklyspecial.org for more wonderful ideas of places to explore during the winter season.
Stay safe, stay warm, and thanks for joining us. And as we head out, we want to share with you one of the Weekly Special's favorite musicians, Cade Puckett. Good night.
Production support for the Weekly Special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you.